Hey, what's happening? What's up? I'm Kimberly. I am the Purpose Catalyst, and I am super excited about today's live. This is the Dope CEO Lunch and Learn. So, I wanted to get into it. If you saw the caption, we are talking about 3 leadership hacks that I learned from Suicide Squad. I know I'm late. Listen, I didn't know what it was about, and I was like, probably not. But then one of my friends was talking about it, and I said, you know what? I do want to see that. And so, as I started kind of looking at the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, let me watch this. And honey, the way that that movie captured my attention, and I'm going to share 5 reasons as to why. So, what I'm going to do is try to give you the points in the movie, like the time in the movie where I saw these leadership hacks. So, be mindful. I will be looking at my notes because I wrote this down. And for real, I found, I think, 15 leadership hacks. I'm only going to talk to you about 5 because this could be way longer than it should be if we go into the full 15. All right. So let's get into it. Suicide Squad. It is all about Viola Davis, who is a beast in this movie, bringing together this team of metas to help control some things that are going on. Listen, there are no games to be played with Viola Davis in this movie. And so I love the way, like, she's real hardcore. I love the fact that it is no games to be played. She is no nonsense, and she is not about that life. Now, if we were to really look at Viola in this concept, she would definitely be a visionary, but not just any visionary. She's a full-on mastermind, good, evil, bad, ugly. It don't make a bit of difference. She is the mastermind behind the Suicide Squad. She has a plan. She has a lot of management tendencies with visionary capabilities. So, and let's think about this. This is Dope CEO, right? So, when you think about leadership, a lot of times you may find hybrids that function as management but have some visionary qualifications. So, this is how I look at Viola Davis, right? But I'm going to get into this is minute 27 and 33. She set very clear expectations on how they were going to work together. There was a team dynamic, but she qualified each and every person before she even spoke. And I'm listening, she's a leader and she had a hiring plan. I didn't even write this down. But truth be told, she had a whole hiring plan. She had a whole book on who she wanted. She had done her research. She knew their weaknesses and she knew how they could partake in getting her to the vision. That was her hiring plan. She sought out, she brought it to the people, and she had an intake session when they're at dinner. Now, this might not be minute 27:33, but this is what happened. She had a whole intake session at dinner, and she had to really persuade those people, the stakeholders, to make the decision that they needed this team. Right. And so as she's doing it, she has pictures of individuals. She has their distractions. She has background. She has their capabilities. And these stakeholders have come into knowledge of the people she wants to bring onto the team. They know about these people. It is not a secret. And they're thinking, no, do you know what they did? Are we sure about this? And they have questions. And she answers every last one of them. Why? Because she built a success profile before she even went to dinner. Then she found her team. Then she got the stakeholder buy-in. Now that was free. Okay. That's not even one of the 5. Count that as an early bonus. All right. Okay, minute 44, 44 minutes and 18 seconds. If you're fast forwarding, you're like, what is she talking about? Are there really leadership hacks? Yes, 44:18. They knew the motivators and demotivators for each person. And so what I like, because here's the thing, Deadshot was the unassuming leader. He wasn't the first one that they talked to, or was he? He may have been, but he took on the role of leader. I did not expect that. I thought it was going to be Harley Quinn. It was Deadshot. It was Will Smith the entire time. He was the unassumed leader. He stepped up to the plate and said, listen, it's a whole team here and we all got our issues, but let me tell you what I'm going to do. So he knew his equipment and so did everybody else, but he knew his equipment and the level of force to use at any given moment. Prior to not shooting Harley Quinn, he was known for never missing. And truth be told, even when he told Viola Davis, oh man, I must have missed, he was being a leader and saying, I'm not shooting my team so that somebody else who's really not on our team can win. He took the loss. Didn't matter about his reputation. Didn't matter about what was going to happen. He took the hit. That's what real leaders do. They take the hit if something goes wrong. Then in one of the sections, he was unapologetic about his zone of genius. When he came on, even when they tested him out, he knew what he was going to do. He said, listen, I never miss. He had all those guns. He was shooting until things were falling apart. He knew his zone of genius. And it did not matter who else was on the team because he knew he could stand flat-footed in his zone of genius and be just fine. As a leader, I want you to know that if you stand and purposely pursue your zone of genius, you will be fine. You won't have time to think about who's contributing to what they're doing. Whose tasks am I worried about? Who are my competitors? You should know them, but truth be told, you should be so focused on the level of excellence that you provide that anything else is irrelevant. All right, next, he knew who he was working with. He saw these people and he saw what they were getting into and he was assessing the overall team. When it came down to the fight, he said, so you're not going to help? Because he had gotten to know the team and their skill sets. A leader knows the team and they know why you've been brought on the team, why that decision was made. Value the team. All right. So then he knew the strength of being in authority and under authority. He knew that he was the unassuming leader. When it came time and they were being attacked by, I don't know what it was, monsters, zombies, whatever it was, he stepped up to the plate and everyone else followed. Even though he might have been the unassuming leader of the metas, he was not the leader at that moment. He was not. The general, whoever Viola Davis, that guy, he was in charge at that moment. But he also knew that he had a team of people that had special abilities and he rallied them together so that the overall vision did not perish. He knew the power of being in authority, the unassuming leader, and under authority. He knew that if we don't participate, we're all going to die. But he also knew there's a team of people that got some skill sets that we really need. We could use them, all right? And he knew what it meant to be an authority. He knew that if he started, they would jump in. Powerful, right? I want you to think about what areas of your business do you need to jump into so that others will follow. All right, next, minute 52 and 17. Remember when I said he rallied the team? He knew how to galvanize that team. He knew what motivated them for optimal performance. There was a guy who had the ability to generate like fire and fireballs. And I mean, he was crazy with it. And he kept saying, why aren't you helping? Why aren't you helping? And the guy said, yo, I'm never doing this again, because in his past, he took out his whole family because he got angry. He said, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. He knew how to push his buttons and how to win his buy-in, how to win or how to move him to being a stakeholder in the team in order to help the team. He had to get him to see the vision. He knew what was important to each one of them. When he saw Harley Quinn and Harley kept talking about Mr. J and the Joker, he knew the Joker was important to her. But he also knew that this team needed to win so that she could see the Joker ultimately and be with him. All right, next, minute 53 and 56 seconds. They surveyed the land. All right. Anytime you are building, as a CEO, you are building. You are a builder. Bob the builder, Nehemiah the builder. I don't care what type of builder you identify or associate with. You are a builder. You are the architect of this organization. And so to become the architect of greatness, it means you have to survey the land. You need to know the good soil from the impediments. You need to know where to build and what to leave alone. You need to know what's going to be able to hold up and what won't. And so, what that means is when you survey the land, you know your strengths and weaknesses. You know your opportunities and your threats. And yes, I'm talking about a SWOT analysis. You have to know how to survey the land because there are many, many offerings out here. What makes you stand out? So then that comes into, as an architect, you determine the level of your investment. How invested are you going to be? If you want to go to the next level, you got to consider the cost. That means your time, your skills, qualifications, and abilities, even down to how much you're willing to invest in continuous education for yourself. All right. Not to mention the level of clients that you want. It's time for you to dictate what level of investment you're willing to give. Because let's be honest, you can work in excellence or you can work in chaos. You decide. But the level of investment will determine what spectrum you decide to fall into. All right, next. So that's 3 points, right? Minute 56 and 50 seconds. This has been one of the biggest ordeals that I've had to deal with. Never shrink back. You can be bubbly, full of personality. You can have all the wisdom, knowledge, skills, and abilities. You can have a degree and certifications to back you up. Your experience will speak for itself. And let me tell you this. There will be people who will be envious. There are people who will be jealous. There are people that will really not know what to do with you because you're an anomaly. I said it. You're the unicorn. No matter what, do not shrink back. Don't do it. No matter what, do not shrink back. I'm going to say it again. Do not shrink back. Don't do it. All right. Know your zone of genius and know your performance. I don't care who don't like it. The only people that you really need to consider when you're thinking about your performance are the people who are paying you. I had a client this week. We were on a client call. And she said, my competitors are doing this. My client, I'm talking to a potential client, and they want to know if I offer a la carte. But with my offerings, I already have 3 main offerings. And I know that it's necessary. Is this something I should add? And there's a few questions that I ask. 1, is it in your zone of genius? 2, is it something that you really want to offer? And 3, how does it fit in your wheelhouse? You have to know your performance. So if you know you can only take 1 more client for the month to work with one-on-one, a la carte is not an option because that's not going to get you to your revenue goal. You need to know what it means to work at full capacity and what that level of investment looks like and what that means for your time, talent, treasure, what that means for you still being able to take care of yourself. Had another client this week and she was like, I'm not really sure how to manage my time between working in my business and working on my business. So she plotted out her days and I said, there's still something missing. When do you take care of yourself? When do you rest? And let me be very, very clear. Rest is strategic. It is a strategic move. If you burn out, nobody is there to replace you as a solopreneur. If you burn out to the extent that you have to shut down your business, you do know, like they said in Love and Basketball, somebody's always waiting to take your spot. Take care of yourself. Never shrink back. And never do what you think other people need you to do in order to be successful. Your success means that you are focusing on your purpose and walking in your zone of genius and not trying to imitate somebody else's. All right, that's number 4. Number 5. You know what? This is at the 1 hour mark. It's 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 37 seconds. Never be afraid of performance talks. Here's what I know. My career has been in corporate. It's been in staffing, it's been in corporate HR, and it's been in talent acquisition. It's been in benefits administration. It's been in performance management. It's been in change management. Never underestimate the conversation of performance. Let me tell you something. I hate when people don't have performance talks until it's time to do a performance assessment and you decide whether or not I'm going to get a bonus or a promotion. No, performance talks needs to happen one-on-one. It does, I mean, every week or every other week. It does not have to be formal, but it does need to be something where you can validate the person's work. So here's the thing. Why doesn't it have to be formal? Because I want to celebrate you, but I also want to let you know that there's room for improvement. If you want optimal work and performance, it means that you have to have the uncomfortable talk. So here's the first thing. Let me share something with you. I'm going to be real transparent. One of the most important talks of my life, and it prepared me for today. One of the most pertinent talks of my life was when I had a one-on-one with my manager, and she said, you keep everything in your head. So if you're out or something happens to you, nobody knows what's going on. And I was a recruiter on a team. And at the time, I was a high volume recruiter, which means that I was at minimum responsible for hiring 16 people a month. Minimum. There were months when I had to hire 30 people a month. I was high volume. But if I was out of the office, if I was at a different site, or if I was just off, nobody knew what was going on because it was not written down. It was in my head. I could track my numbers. I knew where everybody was, but it was in my head. She said, I need you to learn how to over communicate instead of under communicating and overperforming. I could meet my numbers, but nobody knew how. And nobody ever knew what exactly was going on. My managers knew that they were seeing people. They knew they had people on their calendars. They knew when classes started, but nobody knew the details. Let me tell you something. That was one of the best conversations that I ever had. At the time, it stung because I was like, but I'm doing my job. And I was, but I wasn't communicating with anybody. So until it got down to it, people were panicking because they didn't know I had it handled. Over communicate. Never be afraid of those performance talks. It changed my life. And now it helps me when I manage my business. If I have a one-on-one client, if I'm in group coaching, people know what's going on, what's next, what needs to happen overall, where we are, right? Mediocrity cripples growth. Don't be basic. Y'all was out here calling basic women, I'm not going to cuss, but y'all was out here calling chicks basic all day. But if you decide that mediocrity is where it's at, you're basic. Don't be basic. Don't be basic. Basic don't get a good check. Basic gets minimal checks. Don't be basic. Next, stretching isn't welcomed until after the objective is accomplished. Do it anyway. Stretching isn't welcome. Nobody wants to be stretched. Nobody wants to be uncomfortable. Nobody wants to do things they've never done before. Nobody wants to learn new tasks. Comfortability equals mediocrity. So stretching is not welcomed. But when you meet that goal, you're like, oof, the stretching is real. And once you're stretched, you can never go back to who you used to be because now you own new territory. Catch that. New territory comes with being stretched. All right, next, celebrate individual and team wins. Tell me the last time you have never wanted to be celebrated. Everybody loves to be celebrated. Celebrate team and individual wins. It's not just enough to participate anymore. When I play softball, we didn't get participation trophies. We got, y'all lost that game. Y'all, okay, extra practice. That's what we got. Okay. There was no participation trophy. There was no participation certificate. It was, let's get this win. Let's go to the championships. I want you and your team to go to the championships, which means the next level. Let's go up. Let's go up. Lastly, you never know when the next hard task is coming. When you're being stretched and when you're being walked into new territory, you're being promoted, you have no idea what exists in that land, what giants may be in that land. But because you are a continuous learner, you welcome the stretch and you know mediocrity sucks, you're not going back. So you're ready for whatever giant is coming at you. Next, and here's my last point, honor breeds loyalty. When you celebrate individuals, that's honor. They're going to be like, this was the best company I ever worked for. This has been the best manager. I still honor the first manager that I had in staffing at 25, almost 2 decades later. Why? Because she deserves it. Why? Because she taught me everything that I know. Why? Because she did it with a reckless abandon. She didn't hold anything back. She was like, I want you to know what I know, everything. You will learn how to run this branch, because I worked at a staffing agency that had branches across the country and across the city. And she made sure that I knew everything. When she left the branch, I literally stepped into her seat and could do everything because she taught me. I still honor her. So when she has openings at her company, she emails me and says, hey, are you interested? You want to work full time? And at the time, like, by the way, P.S., I'm now full time. But at the time, I would be like, no, but I know somebody. And she trusts my referrals. Honor breeds loyalty. Honor is just not your people reverencing you. It's about you honoring the people in your team because they help you make it happen. Those are my 5 leadership hacks that I learned from Suicide Squad. I want you to take a look, watch the movie, see what you think, and tell me what you saw. All right? I can't wait to hear your feedback. I'm Kimberly, the Purpose Catalyst, and I'm out. I'll talk to you next week on the next Dope CEO Lunch and Learn.